Hello.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We will go right into questions with Coach Taylor. If you're new to our Zoom press conference, please use the raise hand feature and we'll take questions as they come in. Gary?
Morning, Coach. I'm sure everybody on the call this morning has his question in mind in one form or another. But for so many years, your name was synonymous with Cal football. Great player, assistant coach, radio analyst, and so you must be going through some interesting emotions this week. A lot of the things that were part of a big game are no longer around, like the Guardsman luncheon and the bonfires. But it's still the big game. There's still the acts. It's still a very meaningful day for both teams. What do you think it's going to feel like for you this Saturday when you're standing there on the opposite side of your field from your old school?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little strange. I think once the game gets going, it'll feel pretty normal. Just you go into the kind of competition mode, but yeah, it'll be a different experience for sure. Just being a part of Cal for so long and having such a love for the university and what it's given me in terms of my past and my future and present, all those things. Really, a lot of it went through Cal, so always has a lot of gratitude for the university and the program there, and always will root for Cal and love Cal. Now being on the other side of it, obviously this is my family, Stanford Cardinal, and excited to be able to go into a battle. It's a great rivalry. Everybody in the Bay Area really comes alive and pays attention to it. And there's history that's made and names that are remembered forever because of it. So really excited, and this week just trying to really keep our focus on our preparation process, and but excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, Gary. Troy?
Hey, Coach, two quick personnel things, if I can. One, four guys, Casey Filkins, Ashton, AK, and Edwards. Any initial update on those guys as we begin the week?
Okay, yeah, let's go one at a time. Go the first person?
Ashton.
Day to day.
Day to day. Filkins.
Casey, yeah, he will not play.
Okay. AK, Gilman.
AK, we'll see.
Okay. And Scotty Edwards was in and out a little bit.
Day to day, yeah.
Day to day, okay. Second, how close did Ari Patu come to potentially getting quarterback snaps? He came in for that one play and lined up, ended up lining up as a tight end on a trick play, as it turned out. But how close did how close did he come to getting potential game snaps at quarterback last week?
Yeah, I mean, it's not one of those things I spend a lot of time, thinking about. We were going with Justin, and obviously he would be the next guy up. So we have confidence in Ari, but Justin was our second quarterback.
Thank you, Troy. John?
Coach, back to the big game history card, just kind of your history with it. I know that in '86 you had the broken jaw, but a lot of emotion in that game, and then in '88 you had it won, and then there's a block kick, and then in '89 I think he threw like 55 passes or something. Where I'm going with this is, was it a different game in your college experience, or was it just another game? You mentioned as a coach, you'll settle in, and I makes sense to me. But as a player, was it different than the others?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's important to so many people in the Bay Area and across the country that are Cal and Stanford people. So I think you feed off of that and you feel that energy and the importance of it. So I do think as a player, you sense that and you realize that this game's important and how important it is to people. So I think for sure you feel that, as a competitor, obviously every game's really important, but there's a different energy around the Bay Area, and people are a little bit more interested in this game. It's been going on for a really long time, a great history, two incredible universities with a history of not only great academics but great players, great coaches, and so it's unique. There's no other rivalry like Cal Stanford, where I think the universities have so much respect for each other, and what they stand for, and being obviously so close in proximity. And then we've had wild games that have taken place here that, people on a national stage still remember. And obviously the play and all that is one that stands out. But as you guys know, there were some some incredible end of the game stuff and a number of other games. So it's exciting to be a part of it.
Ben?
Hi, Troy. A lot of people don't realize that this is Elic Ayomanor's first season playing college football due to the significant knee injury he suffered last year, which makes it all the more extraordinary. He's on the verge of an historic 1,000-yard season. If you had a chance to give your pitch on why he should be considered for the big honors like All-American, Freshman of the Year, and the like, what would you say?
Say, for us, he's, there's nobody more important, I think, in our offense, and he's been incredible. I mean, the guy started out playing in a knee brace, recovering. Hasn't played a lot of football in his life, really. And as you mentioned, really first year in college football, and you've seen just kind of a taste of his potential, and what this guy will look like in a year from now could be pretty scary in terms of confidence, feel for the game, and obviously he's going to improve. So, outstanding player for us, and we're sure glad that he's at the beginning of his career.
Ron?
Hi, Troy. Ron Krejcik from the San Francisco Chronicle. If I could sort of follow up on that question about Elic, you look at his numbers this year, obviously pretty solid the first 5 games, but just off the charts the last 5. What sort of changed from Colorado on? Did you guys focus on him more? Did he do something different that has allowed him to sort of take this next step?
That's a great question. I would say, I do think coming out of the knee brace has allowed him to play a little bit more freely, a little bit faster. And I think he's playing with a lot of confidence. So, and talked about before how important it is to play with the belief in yourself, and then the comfort level of the offense and all the adjustments. Now, he still has a lot of room for improvement, which is exciting. But I think it's a combination of those things. And then obviously when as a play caller and as an offensive staff, when a guy is productive, you wouldn't be very smart if you didn't find a way to involve him and put him at the point of attack on a number of different concepts. So I think that's been a factor as well.
If I can ask a quick follow-up, how much, as you mentioned earlier, he hasn't played much football. How much did you know about his background? Do you see the small town in him at all? I mean, my understanding is he grew up in a town of like 200 people.
Yeah, right when I got here, you meet him and you could tell he's a different kid in terms of his focus, how much he cares. He's really sharp. He picks up on things really quickly. And, but you don't, at the beginning, you don't get a chance to really see him do much because he's, rehabbing his injury and trying to get healthy. And so then you see snippets of it when he comes back. And at first he was very reluctant, based on his injury. But you could see that occasionally you'd see opportunities where he wasn't thinking about his leg and that he was playing a little bit faster. And I think he, as the weeks have went on, as you said, week kind of 5 on, I think he's gotten more strength, more confidence, and both in his leg and in his ability to play at this level. And I think once you can play and you have the kind of ability he has, then the sky's the limit.
Thank you.
Troy?
Yeah, last year's big game, Mitch Lieber played a key role, but on offense this year, of course, he's back on defense, and it seems like Mitch has been gaining a bit of momentum over the course of the last couple of weeks. Picked up the fumble a couple weeks ago against Washington, some big hits last week in Corvallis. What have you seen from Mitch of late over the last few weeks?
Yeah, Mitch is just a kid that is, he's willing to do whatever it takes. He's very low maintenance in terms of he's gonna be prepared. Every rep that he gets, he's going to improve. I mean, the guy came in and played running back for him last year and did a good job. That's really difficult to do, and he didn't bust one pass protection, was my understanding, which is pretty complex in the pass game. So that just shows you kind of what he's got in terms of fortitude and focus, and he's done that on defense for us as well. Obviously, he can still improve and all those things, but he's been solid for us.
John?
Coach, tell us what the absence of Casey Filkins has meant to what your offense is trying to do. I mean, obviously, a lot of Stanford fans hurt for the kid not being able to play, but just how that's limited you.
Yeah, it has. He is probably our most versatile back in terms of the ability to give us, big play ability, catch the ball, protect, all of those things. And, like all of our backs. But Casey, obviously, not having him has impacted us for sure. And, just disappointed for him that he wasn't able to finish the year healthy and play. He loves football so much and been such a big part of this program. That's been disappointing. But for me, just to be around him for a year, and the impact that he's had, even when he's not playing, just his leadership and his attitude, those things have been far-reaching to our program.
Steve?
Yeah, Troy, I'm old enough to remember a lot of things. A lot of things I'm forgetting now, but one thing I do remember is when you were a freshman, you had two quarterbacks in front of you, and you got your first start against Oregon State. This season, Mendoza had two quarterbacks in front of him, got his first start against Oregon State. I'm sure you're Cal's offense, but what do you know about Mendoza, and do you see any of Troy Taylor and Fernando Mendoza?
I think I was the 8th quarterback when I got to Cal. I thought I was redshirting until Tuesday of the Oregon State game. So I'm sure he's much more prepared than I was, both mentally and emotionally. He's pretty special. I've been impressed. The times that I've seen him play, just seems very composed. He's got a great toughness, and the team is really rallied behind him. I mean, they've really taken a step forward once he kind of became their guy. They've really kind of taken off offensively. And he does a great job in the system, and a really talented guy, and they've done a great job developing him.
Ben?
Yeah, you guys play hard, and that's led to some competitive games this year, but it's hard to succeed in college football without older experienced players, especially up front. Obviously, you have been significantly affected by all of the contributors that transferred out, but looking forward to future years, it seems like it can remain a challenge for you guys to have large numbers of guys stick around for 5th years. So my question is just, are there things you've been focused on, changed in recruiting or in the culture you're building so that you guys can have more experienced guys on the offensive line going forward, like so many of your opponents do?
Yeah. This was a very unique year for Stanford football. So, you had, they were very affected by COVID in a lot of ways. Probably the most, the way that affected us this year the most was the fact that those guys that transferred, went to transfer portal, all of them but one had graduated. So, and we wanted them to come back, but obviously they had their degree, and they had lost the coach that recruited him, David Shaw, who's an incredible man and a great coach. And so we weren't able to retain a lot of those guys. 6 of them were offensive linemen, right, that I believe are starting at other FBS programs. So you're just simply at a place like Stanford, where we're not going to bring in a lot of transfers. You're not going to be able to replenish that. There's just no quick fix here when you lose a number of players. Now, that being said, we knew coming in that that was going to be a challenge, playing young players that hadn't played a lot. But moving forward, I really do think we're going to have our players for 4 to 5 years. That we're going to play them when they come in, their freshman year, most of them, and then we're going to have them here. I mean, if you're smart enough to choose Stanford as your school choice, you're smart enough to stick around until you get your degree. So I feel like even though this year it was a challenge in terms of those numbers and the things that are happening in the future, I really think we're the outlier. We're going to be the football program that has our players for 4 to 5 years that are going to stick around. And I think our culture has shown that it's already very strong in how our guys compete. And they like playing, they like being here. And so in the long term, I'm incredibly optimistic on where this is headed. We're having great success recruiting wise, and then we're going to be able to develop these guys over a 4-year period, and super excited, and love the guys that we have now and how hard they're competing. But we will continue to improve and get better.
Troy?
What are some things that stick out when you watch the Bears defense, and who are some guys that pop out when you watch them as well?
Yeah, I'd say, very familiar with Cal and Justin Wilcox and Coach Sermon and what they do defensively. They've always been, one of the better defenses in the pack and across the country. Really, very sound. They're going to be typically they don't bust coverages. They love base defense, and they're very good at it. Now they've had some injuries, and they obviously played a really tough schedule. Pac-12 this year, and the offenses are amazing. They played some of the tougher defenses in the country, and so we got our challenges. Obviously, they play hard. They understand their system, and their coaches do a great job. So I think it'll be a good task for us, and obviously they're really good on offense, so they play well off each other. And they defensively, I think when they get a lead and they've scored some points on offense, people sometimes can press on offense, and we got to make sure we don't do that.
Ron?
I could ask one last Elic question. How do you sort of reflect on that Colorado game? I mean, you look back in 13 catches, 294, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's not the kind of game you rarely see that from a wide receiver. How good was that? Where does that rank? And you've been around football a long time. How many games like that have you ever seen?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm trying to think back. Not at this level for a wide receiver. The thing that I remember is that it started off kind of rough for him. He had a take route that he misplayed the ball, and a lot of people would go into the tank because it was a pretty clear touchdown that was at a pivotal point, and would have closed the game to within 7. And I remember seeing him on the sidelines and just seeing how he was doing and looking in his eyes, and I'm like, "You all right? You got to move on." And he was fine, and then he made a play, and then all of a sudden you go from a guy that misplayed a ball to dominating a game where they just couldn't cover him. And so to me, that's kind of what I remember about that game, just how focused he was, and it was maybe the birth of a great player, where you saw a guy really understand that he was capable of being an elite wide receiver. And it's one thing to kind of think you can do it, but it's another thing to do it in front of a lot of people live, and it happened on a national stage. And that builds your confidence against some really good players. I mean, the corners he was going against, those guys are good. One of them, a lot of people think he's one of the better players in the country. So, that's kind of what I remember. And the great thing is he still has a lot of growth within his game. So he hasn't peaked at all. I really think he's on the early stages, and because of his disposition, the way he looks at the game, how important it is, and how smart he is. A lot of the great players have just an aptitude and intelligence for the game and understanding that kind of goes unnoticed. But he's one of those guys, is really sharp, and both on and off the field. So I think his future is bright.
Thanks.
John?
Coach, the league is full of a lot of great backs. Bucky Irving, Carson Steele, Damian Martinez last week. How is Jaden Ott different than those or similar to those?
Yeah, I would say what makes him unique is, he's got it all. I mean, he's a physical runner. He's very elusive, and then he has breakaway speed, which is hard to have those things. So, a lot of times you'll have a guy that's very elusive but can't take it to the house, not a home run hitter, and he is really consistent, extremely talented, tough. I really admire his game, and he is one of the top players, not just backs, but one of the top players in the Pac-12.
Harold?
I think this team's still looking to win its first home game. Is that just a coincidence that some of your best performances have been on the road, or how important do you think that is to get one?
I think it's really important. We played some really good teams, obviously, and didn't play well enough to win. So how that correlates to the road or at home, I don't know. I know we're really hungry to get a home win, and really hungry to play Cal. So hopefully this will be our first home win of the season.
Ben?
Yeah, just kind of wondering, have we seen the offensive scheme you hope to install at Stanford for the long run, or does this season reflect some kind of concession to talent? And if the latter, what would be the main kind of differences you hope are put in place next season or in some future year?
No, there's been adaptations for sure. And I mean, you could see that from if you just look at my offenses in the past and what we've done. So you got to adjust, and we're a very inexperienced young team, and so as a coach, you just got to adapt and make sure you're putting your guys in a situation to be successful, and not ask them to do things that are maybe not within talent wise best for the team. So no, I wouldn't say it's the offense that you will see in the future. We just you've seen parts of it. But as we grow and continue to bring in more and more players and develop, it'll look quite a bit different.
John?
Coach, as you mentioned, the run game has had to adapt. So when Stanford fans think about converting on third down, obviously Elic has been a weapon in the slant and the deep ball, and Tiger Bachmeier is really coming on. Where is Sam Roush in that continuum, and how are you as you scheme up games going forward? Your confidence in Sam as sort of third down, move the chains on a reception.
Yeah, no, good question. Sam's one of those guys that I'm gaining more and more confidence in, and he's in himself as well. So, Sam is another guy that hasn't played offense a lot, and you can see him growing and getting better. Now, he certainly has a lot of natural ability, and you've seen him adjust to the ball and make plays that are pretty good for a guy that hasn't spent a lot of time on the offensive side. So we feel great about Sam. I have a lot of confidence. When the balls come his way, he has made plays. And so you gain confidence in players just like you would think if they make plays. And Sam has made plays, again, young and has room for improvement, but how he competes in the run game and how he has improved his feel for the pass game has been really impressive.
Ben?
Having played in this game as a player, just talk about, does that help you as a coach kind of prepare your own players for the game, having experienced it in that realm? Or good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think once, what we talked about is just enjoy the week, enjoy the energy. It will feel a little bit differently and feed off of that. That's good. But once the game starts, what I have found as a player and coach, it goes into like any other game, execution, focus, your preparation, and all of those things. Now around you, it might be a little bit different, but you're pretty focused. Once you get on maybe jogging out in the field and those things, you sense that, you feel that. But once the game starts, after 2 or 3 plays, typically you kind of go into your comfort zone and calling a game if you're a coach or as a player.
We'll wrap it up with Troy.
Yeah, Coach, this will mark the 35th anniversary of maybe one of the more bizarre finishes in the history of a big game, 1988, which ended with that tie. What do you remember from that game that day and your feelings about that outcome?
I remember, so we had the ball and we're driving, and we were going to set up for a field goal, and we were moving the ball pretty well. Now the hash marks were a little wider back then, 2 yards wider than they are now. And so the angle of field goals when you're a hash was pretty severe. And so we did not center the ball. We were on the left hash. We had a really good kicker, and Tuan Van Lee came off the edge, made an unbelievable play and blocked it. And then I remember, neither team really knew what to do, because typically your memories of the big game, like my freshman years, Joe Cap got carried off the field. It was his last game as a Cal coach. It was a huge upset, and everybody's on the field and just celebrating. You run around with the axe, and it's just a great energy. And then if you lose the game, you saunter off and you're not really that excited. So once we all realized it was a tie and there was going to be no celebration for either team, we just kind of walked out, shook hands, and left. It was very strange. It's also the game that I remember Oski and the Tree getting in a fight in the south end zone, and it was a legitimate fight. They were trying to hurt each other, and I think it was in between a series. And I remember them, Oski trying to tear the Tree apart and get pulled apart. And I remember Oski pointing his finger, one of his 4 fingers he has, at the Tree, like, this isn't over, it's going to continue at some point. And I'm like, this is bizarre. Living in a cartoon world or something. So those are those are the kind of the memories that I remember from that game.
Thank you so much, Coach Taylor. We will come back with players.
Awesome. Thanks. Go Card.
What's up, man? What up? Hey guys, how y'all doing?
All right, we are here with Dyson Bernadelle. We will take questions the same way we took them for Coach Taylor. Ben?
Hi, Gython. Just talk about just kind of emotions of the team right now heading into big game week.
Going to the big game week, our coaches really talked about, being able to flush last week down the drain and being able to look forward. It's big game week, man. Everyone is excited. Everyone on our campus is hyped up, ready to go. So we're going to get after it today in practice and be ready to go. The team's really hungry. We're excited for this week.
Thank you, Ben. John?
Gython, tell us what it's like when you have a challenge of a feature back that you're playing. There have been a few of them that you've played. Oregon had Bucky Irving. Last week it was Martinez, who had a really good game. Cal has Jaden Ott. You relish that more, or is he just a number on the film and you think number? Tell us kind of your approach when they got the opponent has a lead guy that's pretty good.
Like Coach Denarfield likes to say, they're all nameless and faceless. You know what I mean? Yeah, we know. There's a lot of pretty good players in this league, but at the end of the day, we have to do what we got to do, and it doesn't really matter what your name is or who you are. We're still going to come at you.
Troy?
Yeah, Guy, found any similarities and differences between the Cal running attack and how it runs things, and the Oregon State running attack in its scheme?
Yeah, Oregon State, they have like more of an NFL style offense in terms of getting in 12, 13 personnel and just running the ball down your throat the whole game. But Cal, they give you a little bit of everything. They have a lot of exotic looks and a lot of delay runs, a lot of pin pull, fast reads. They have it all. So we're gonna emphasize that a lot during this week, and we're gonna be ready for everything.
John?
Guys, and I was impressed and continue to be impressed by your tackle numbers. It just you're around the football. Can you explain to us why you have those high numbers in tackles when people with the same physical profile as you don't have as many? Is it instinct? Is it quickness? Is it just I love to tackle? I mean, why are your tackling numbers so high? So high, not just this year, but throughout your college career.
Just running to the football, being able to get to football. When I was younger, one of my coaches told me the best guys always run the ball when the play's over. And Coach D always says, your commitment to this team, your commitment to this teammates is where you are when the ball is spotted, where you are at the end of the play. So I always try to get to the football, no matter if it's 80 yards down the field, if it's on the opposite side of the field. Always try to get to the football and make the play. You know what I mean? We work on tackling every week. That's a big thing. We work on every single week. So at the point of attack, got to be able to wrap up, take them to the ground. So just being able to be around the football every play.
Troy?
Yeah, Stanford Cal, a pretty big deal here around the Bay Area. I'm not sure exactly how much it resonated back in South Florida, however. What do you know now about the big game and this rivalry? I mean, it's early in the week, obviously, but what do you know about this rivalry now that you might not have necessarily known, coming into the season?
Yeah, so being from down south, being a guy from Miami, you don't really hear about the West Coast rivalries. Down there is more of the Miami and Florida State, but I've come out here and it's pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much the same type of rivalry. We know what type of week it is. We know what type of game it's gonna be, and we know we got to bring our hard hat. So I'm excited for this game. It's rivalry week, man. Honestly, man, nothing else matters. This is the one that matters. We have to bring that axe back to Palo Alto.
Ben?
Yeah, you guys have had tremendous success away from the farm. But for whatever reason, you guys haven't yet gotten a home game here. Just how sweet would it be to first of all, A, win in front of your home fans, and then B, have it be with the axe in hand?
Man, it would be big. You know what I mean? Obviously, we struggle. So we struggle at home, and we play pretty good on the road. But we don't want to get into that. Oh, we don't play good at home. We play better on the road. We don't really look into that. We don't really get into all of that. We get this one at home, and going against Cal, it'd be big, not only for us, but for the entire Stanford organization, the whole school, alumni. This would be a big one.
Troy?
Yeah, when inside linebackers have high tackle numbers, a lot of times that can speak to what the guys up front, in front of the inside linebackers, are doing. You've got a pretty good front row seat to the defensive line. How would you assess how those guys have been doing? Which guys up front defensively have stood out to you?
Yeah, those are my guys, man. We like to call as a linebacker, we like to call those guys our little cousins because we take care of them. We have to set the front. We got to give them what's called. We got to give them the call for the defense. But guys that really stick out are guys like Jackson Moy, my guy Tobin, a young guy that's coming up, Zach Rao. Those are a couple guys that stick out, and I can't forget about Big Frank. I call him Frank the Tank. You know what I mean? So can't forget those guys. They really try to eat up blocks for us. So so we can just run. That's really the name of the game. Eat up the blocks, and we gonna fill the gaps where we need to fill.
John?
Guys, and this may be the first big game where a feature guy on defense and a feature guy on the Cal offense are both Miami guys. Fernando Mendoza, do you have any intel from your guys back in Miami about this QB, and what have you heard?
I actually had no idea he was from Miami. This is the first time I'm actually hearing about this.
He's a number on film, like you said.
Yeah, just nameless and faceless, man. You know what I mean? So I'm actually fired up now. I had no idea it was on film. So, it's going. I mean, I don't really know him, but I probably chop it up with him after the game, and we'll talk. But other than that, it usually got me fired up. I had no idea he was from Miami.
Any other questions for Gaithan? Ben?
Yeah, just kind of as a Miami guy, I'm guessing you're a Dolphins fan. Is that your team, or who's your NFL team? Yeah.
Spins up. Spins up, man. Since I was born. I stayed like 10 minutes from the stadium. So I grew up going to the Miami games, going to the Dolphins games. So I seen that stadium change a lot. So it's pretty, so fins up all day.
Yeah, and then also too, I mean, just kind of what has been Bobby April's kind of message to you guys specifically about Cal, and what are the kind of key points, emphasis that you guys need to do that are maybe kind of specific to the Bears?
Yeah, so Coach April really one of the first things he talked about was winning the first 48, being able to get out because the game is won during the week. You know what I mean? We get the game plan, we execute the game plan during the week, and just being able to go out there on Saturday and bring it all to fruition. So Coach April has done a great job, and the whole entire defensive staff has done a great job of like making sure we win the first 48 and making sure like this game is not a game to play with. You know what I mean? So yeah, we haven't had a season that we want to have, but we still have the opportunity to finish off strong.
Troy?
It seems like when this defense has been at its best throughout the season, it's when pressure has come from all levels, not just the front, not just the linebackers, but also from the secondary as well. Is that an accurate and a fair assessment of things? When this defense is at its best, what does it look like?
This defense is at its best when everyone is around the football. You know what I mean? And the D lineman as well. When the ball is 80 yards down the field and you see the lineman hustling to the football, that's when the defense is at its best. The defense is at its best when everyone's tackling, being able to tackle on the perimeter, being able to, when you're deep, being able to stay consistent in our rush lanes, and just being able to wreak havoc to the quarterback. So that's when this defense is the best.
All right. Thank you so much, Gaithan.
Hey, you guys have a good day, okay?
All right. We are here with offensive lineman Connor McLaughlin. We will take questions, and John made it to the front of the line. All you.
For a change. Connor, we've had other people that we've talked to here in the last 4 minutes. We've talked a lot of football, a lot of big game history and stuff, but I want to take this one away from football. I think it's really cool. I see on my Twitter timeline every now and again or whatever that you guys go to the Stanford Cancer Center, and I believe you guys did so this week. Can you tell us about that visit and what the background of it was and what it meant to you?
Right. Yeah. So we had a really nice volunteering opportunity to kind of make like a surprise for one of our fellow offensive linemen. I'm not going to name which just because I'm not sure if that's private or not. But one of his family members was diagnosed with cancer and was getting treatment at the center. So we had a really nice event where we surprised him at the center and like wrote some cards and just kind of tried to give like holiday cheer and like a special boost to all the patients there. And it was really well received, and everyone seemed really happy to have us. And I'm really grateful that we were able to have that opportunity.
Steve?
Yeah, kind of tough to follow up that. More power to you and your teammates. I will go back to something for football. Friend of mine is doing a story on Elic Ayomanor, if I'm pronouncing him correctly. What have you seen differently, maybe in his demeanor and his attitude from the beginning of the season to maybe the Colorado game to now?
Alec's always been a really confident guy. I mean, even last year when he was hurt, he was walking around like he was a senior when he was a freshman. I was like, who's this guy? But he's obviously a tremendous player, and I think he's gained a lot of confidence, obviously, from having some more time on the field. But yeah, he's a great guy to be around. Obviously, really good for the offense because, like I said, he inspires confidence. But I mean, he's a guy you look out there and he's lined up and he knows he's going to go get the ball and take it off someone's head if he has to. So I've seen him obviously mature a lot and obviously play more confident. But he's a great leader too. And I don't know if that gets stated as much, but he's a tremendous leader, especially for a young guy.
Great, thank you.
Ben?
This is probably kind of a dumb question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you, when you play in big games, do you sense an extra chip on in this one from both sides?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, as a senior, it's kind of like selfishly a little bit like my year. This is like what they remember the senior class by. So obviously, I'm very excited because I'm obviously playing in a little bit of a capacity too. And I didn't have the opportunity in former years to do that as much. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. And there's definitely obviously a huge rivalry between Cal and Stanford. Not going to say we like each other very much, and yeah, I won't go into specifics, but I'm really excited for this game.
Troy?
Yeah, last few weeks we have seen Luke Buklenko, a freshman, on the opposite side of you over at left tackle. What have you been able to see from him and how he's come along the last few weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. Really high praise for Luke. Playing tackle and really offensive line in any capacity as a freshman is kind of like drinking from a fire hose. You got everything coming at you, and it's really hard as a young guy to have the strength and athleticism to keep up with the game, but also to like kind of compartmentalize and visualize everything that's happening at once. So tremendous job by him so far. I'm really proud of him. He's worked really hard. He's obviously a really smart football player too. So he's going to keep improving, but really happy with the way he's been able to step up. And that's no easy task for a freshman.
Steve?
Connor, in this day of NIL and the transfer portal, guys transferring is really no big deal. Your transfer from Stanford to Cal, that's probably a little bigger deal than normal. How close have you stayed with Barrett, and what do you think the mood between you guys will be? Not just yourself, but the rest of the team will be on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I knew I was going to get this question. Yeah, I love Bear. He's a great guy. Love Bear. Definitely talk to him after this week. Just 51 weeks out of the year, he's a great guy. This is the wrong week. He's a great guy. Really good offensive lineman, really good mentor for me when he was here, but unfortunately he's on the wrong side of the ball this week. So
fair enough.
John?
I know there's been some shuffling on the offensive line. I know you started the first game, I believe, at left tackle, but you've been at right tackle since. But your neighbor at right guard, there's been some change there due to injury. Simi's been there for much of the time, but he's been out, and Jake's now next to you. Has that presented any sort of not learning curve, but adjustment for you? I mean, it doesn't. Is everyone so well trained that the right guard kind of does what the right guard's supposed to do, or have you had to adjust each of you to the other when you had a new right guard?
Jake's done a great job so far. I mean, I haven't been playing as up to my ability as I should have in the past couple of weeks, but Jake's done a great job stepping in. Super confident. He's a guy that you have next to you. You make a call, you know what you're going to do because he's super confident when he says it. And same thing with Simi. So really hasn't been much of a change, and feel really confident being next to both those guys.
Troy?
Yeah, Bears defensive front played pretty well against the Cougs for the most part. 7 in particular. Reese had a couple of big impact plays along the way. Oh, what's the task ahead for the Stanford offensive line against the Cal front 7?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to be able to run the ball. They've got some stout guys in the middle, so got to be able to run it on them. They're a good defense for sure. They've got some good players. 7's got some juice. 33 does too. They got some motors. 44 is probably my height, which you don't see very much at a defensive end. So yeah, they've got some really good players. You got to be able to run the ball to open up the passing game, but be able to lean on that running game throughout the game.
John?
Kind of typically more noise, ambient noise in a big game, or at least a big game that's a home game. Oregon State was tough because it's loud. You've been in some loud venues. Just describe for us from your position how you deal with noise when you maybe can't hear the quarterback or whatever. Kind of walk us through what that's like and how you are able to execute.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming off some loud games, I think it's really important to be able to like key into certain voices. If you can really key into what the center's voice sounds like and the cadence of his voice, it makes it a lot easier to hear in a way. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but that's kind of like I'll listen to Ashton's voice and really try and pick up on his rhythm, or Levi's, obviously. And it makes it a little easier to communicate when you're really like pinpointing one specific voice.
Ben?
Yeah, just kind of talk about what it's like being a student athlete, football player during big game week, just the traditions that happen during the week, and just kind of the atmosphere on campus this entire week.
Yeah, no, obviously there's a lot of energy. You love that for a football game. Big game week is awesome. There's so much stuff going on. Probably the most energy I've seen surrounded around a game during our seasons while I've been here. And it can be a little distracting at times, I'm sure, but you just got to keep the main thing, and ultimately it's about the game. So we just got to stay locked in.
Any other questions for Connor? All right. Thank you so much, Connor. That will end today's press conference.